Hello and welcome to Turf and Touchdowns episode number 8, focusing on horse racing this week and some fantastic horse racing as well. Saratoga is back and it's better than ever. We've got everything from Belmont and we've chucked it all in Saratoga, which makes for an absolute super meeting. Royal Ascot's not far away in the UK. This is a perfect warm-up towards Royal Ascot. Myself, Luke Elder, alongside my associate and good old pal, Tom Collins, both ridiculously excited because this weekend is going to be just incredible.
Yeah, phenomenal 4 days of Saratoga, kicking off on Thursday, ending on Sunday. Then we have a month's break before they come back for their actual meet. So hopefully we get lots of turf racing despite the weather forecast, but we have 23 stakes races no matter what happens with the weather. Hopefully we're going to pick a fair few winners over the course of the 4 days between us, but most importantly, we're focusing on the Belmont Stakes. And if we can get the winner of this, it will continue our good, fine streak at the moment on the Turf and Touchdowns pod.
Absolutely. Last week we did well. We found Ottoman Fleet, who, to be fair, he went off odds on, but at the time of our recording, we had a full 8 runners. We had a much tougher race to get through. I put up Ottoman Fleet as for win purposes. You put up the third. I've completely forgotten the name of your selection. Irish Aces,
That's the one.
Who finished back in third. I think on the day you actually backed Irish Aces. Place only 3 places at like 11 to 5. So despite the race going down to 6 runners, there was still value to be had.
Yeah, exactly. We had 2 non-runners. Switched, I think, was one of the non-runners. Stitch, sorry, he went and ran somewhere else, which is unfortunate, meaning we had only 7. Then one other came out. But one bookmaker was offering 3 places. And as you say, 11 to 5, 3.1 on Irish Aces to actually hit the 3, I thought was an absolute steal. I think he went off 16 or 18 to 1. Look, if you bet him each way with a standard bookmaker, you probably wouldn't have cashed in. But I did say in the pod last week, hopefully he'd hit the 3. He managed to do that. And very well done with Ottoman Fleet. He was way the best. Yeah,
I do have to give credit to Tom. I do like discounting his opinion whenever possible. But Tom, literally his words were, bet the horse to finish in the 3. I can't really argue against that, so good job. Well done. This week, though, we've got a harder task at hand. As Tom says, we're looking at the Belmont Stakes. We'll throw in a few more races from Saratoga right at the end of the podcast. If you are new here, by the way, do click subscribe down below. We are really good, and we just entertain all the time. Honestly, I promise you it's worth it. That's on... Oh, big head. That's YouTube and also on Spotify. Do stick around and make sure you're here. We do post videos every single week and NFL videos as well bi-weekly. This is a task for Tom, by the way. At some point right now, there's a little box on the screen that will link you to an NFL video. If there's no box, Tom has failed.
Yeah, it's my mission for this week for sure. I mean, last week there was a box, but it just wasn't at the right part of the video. So yes, this week I'll make sure my editing skills, alongside our actual editor, we actually put the box in at the right point.
Yeah, good job, Joe. Step up. But it's Tom's fault if that box hasn't appeared. Do it manually if not. But please do subscribe on our social media channels. We are on Twitter at Turf Touchdowns. On every other social media platform, we are at Turf and Touchdowns. That includes TikTok and Instagram. But we will look forward to the Belmont Stakes, which is a little bit different this year. Well, a lot of it different, actually. It's not a Belmont, which we are becoming more accustomed to. Hopefully it will return that way next year when Belmont they are staging racing again. It's also over a mile and 2 furlongs on probably a more galloping track because it's at Saratoga. So a bit of a change. If you are new here, if you're new to American racing, Tom, just give people a feel at what Saratoga's like.
Well, it's the most picturesque racetrack in the US. It's a very small, enclosed venue, which means the crowd's virtually on top of the horses, which provides more atmosphere. Look, Saratoga year in, year out provides the best racing in New York. You have all of the best New York trainers. You have the likes of Charlie Appleby always shipping over to race there. And the track generally favours front runners on the dirt track, but over this kind of route trip, I think you could get away with any kind of position depending on the pace. Fortunately for us, it looks like there's going to be some kind of pace up front in the Belmont this year, so there should be no excuses for any horses in this field.
Absolutely. We are not anticipating a Triple Crown. Well, there isn't going to be a Triple Crown winner because Mystik Dan was obviously beaten in the Preakness. He is here, though. I would like to pick you up on one thing you've just said.
Go on.
Most picturesque racecourse in the US.
Are you going to say Santa Anita?
Have you seen Santa Anita?
Well, look, I can understand that. I think Saratoga just because of the actual racecourse, but if you're talking backdrop, Santa Anita wins, of course.
One day I'm going to take you to Santa Anita, and I'll hold your hand as you're going into the race course, and you will mutter the words, "Luke, I was wrong."
It might happen. It might happen. I do love racing in California, to be fair, and
Yeah,
maybe I am wrong, but I just have this affinity to Saratoga.
fair enough. Opposite coast, we are at Saratoga. We'll start with Sierra Leone, which is the obvious starting point. To be fair, he caused shenanigans in the Kentucky Derby. He has got a jockey change. Obviously, Tyler Gaffalione has been jocked off. Flavian Pratt's on board. I think that's a positive. I like Tyler Gaffalione. He's a very good rider, but I'm a massive fan of Flavian Pratt. You are quite anti Sierra Leone, though. I get it. I think you're more anti him than I am, but go.
Look, Sierra Leone can win. There's no doubt about that. But I just don't want to be betting a horse that lugs into his left. I don't care what the horse is, how much talent they've got. But when they're always going to be a short price, you have that horrible characteristic late in the race. Horses like Sierra Leone often throw events away, and they finish a close second after making big runs, and then everyone's like, "Oh, he was the best horse." I think he's going to do it again here. Now I know they've got a rider switch to Flavian, as you've just said, and Connections have actually changed his bit a little bit. I don't know the ins and outs of what they've added and what they've taken away from it, but they're hoping his steering is going to be better. I don't think that's going to be the case. I mean, you can change everything you want with the reins and the bit. I mean, the horse is still going to want to lug in left because of the way he sweeps out with his front left leg. I mean, I like the draw for him. I like the smaller field. I actually like Saratoga for Sierra Leone, and he's got the best form. He deserves to be favourite, but that doesn't mean I want to bet him at the price. I think he's going to finish probably second or third, and people will say he's the best horse yet again. I just hate that tendency.
Yeah, I get that. He's not the price that you want to be taking for a horse to finish second and third. I completely agree with you. I think he's booked for second and third. If you are betting exotics over in the US trifectas, exactas, he's going to have to be in all of them that you use because he will fill one of those places. The pace is quite a big thing for him because the harder they go, the better.
Yeah.
On the top end of the contest, who did you have making the running?
Well, Preakness winner Seize the Grey has to go forward from the inside under Jaime Torres. There's no other option for him. I know Connection said in an interview this week, actually, with DRF, that they could rate and stalk in second or third, but that just wouldn't work. So I think the only tactic for them is to go forward. Dornock will be up there. He's an out-and-out galloper. He's draw middle this time as opposed to his draw inside in the Kentucky Derby. So he should make the pace as well. And then I think Mindframe should be prominent enough from his outside post. There could be two or three vying for the early advantage. If all three go quick up front, then Sierra Leone's price in running would definitely shorten. But I don't think that's the case. I think Mindframe may just sit off the front two.
Yeah, I think people look at this race and think, wow, Sierra Leone's going to get the perfect setup. They're going to go a real good gallop and Sierra Leone's going to be able to travel into the race. That might happen. But I think Mindframe's setup is potentially even more perfect. He could just go forward, sit off the back of the likes of Dornock and Seize the Grey, sit in third. If he does that, that is ideal at Saratoga. You mentioned at the top of the show, you don't really want to be too far back as a rule. I can just see Sierra Leone getting going a little bit too late. And if Mindframe is the horse that we all think and we hope that he is, it might just be a very tough task for Sierra Leone to get by.
Yeah, because Sierra Leone is going to be giving up that track advantage. He's probably going to be between 3 and 5 lengths behind Mindframe at the half, maybe even more, depending on how quick they go up front. And to back run a horse like Mindframe, albeit we don't necessarily know his actual talent level right now, he has an unlimited potential. And he's shown that he's pretty good. I mean, even if he takes one little step forward, he's going to prove tough in this race. So they're going to have to go very hard, and Mindframe's going to have to get involved in the early pace for Sierra Leone to get that ideal run. I, like you, believe that Mindframe's going to get a good stalking trip. And from the outside post, it's not always bad to be wide at Saratoga. I think Irad's going to get a nice run through.
Yeah, I agree entirely. On the inside, you've got two horses that don't want to break and go forward in Sierra Leone and Honor Marie. They're drawn in 8 and 9. That's a positive for Mindframe. Irad Jr. should be able to get across rather seamlessly. I think the setup for Mindframe could be absolutely ideal. The big concern with him, and the one that's been sort of put forward by a lot of bettors over in America, is that he's not very experienced, and he's not. That's 100% right. He's only had 2 races. He's looked very good in both of them. I'm not so much sort of believing in that. He's looked very professional in those 2 starts, and I think his ability is potentially one that's a lot higher than anything else in this field.
Yeah, I mean, from the 3-year-olds we've seen in all of these Triple Crown races so far, well, the two that have been run so far, they've shown a good level of form. Sierra Leone has obviously shown a great level of form for the 3-year-old standard. The others are a bit middling in the division. And I mean, if you take all of them out and just keep Sierra Leone, surely Mindframe is the only horse that actually has the potential to match Sierra Leone and even usurp him in terms of talent level. Yeah, he's only had 2 starts, but it's not like he's drawn in gate 1 and is going to have to overcome a horrible trip. He's got an ideal post out wide, as we've already touched on. It's just going to be a little run around 3 wide on the track and hopefully pounce in the straight. So the trip and the race in general shouldn't be a problem for him. Yeah, he has to prove that he can handle grade 1 quality. But in his 2 victories so far, he has been nothing short of amazing. I mean, that debut run at Gulfstream, yeah, it was a weak maiden special weight, but he just sauntered around the outside and proved that he could close off from mid division to win a race. And at Churchill, again, granted, he got an easy lead in that race, but the way he quickened in the home straight and blitzed his rivals was scintillating. So, this is a horse who's done nothing wrong so far. He's trained very well in the build up to the Belmont. I don't really see the negative aside from the fact he's only had 2 starts, but is that really a negative? It's just more of an unknown.
Yeah, well, Arcangelo won this race last year, and Arcangelo was more experienced, but he was still kind of a nobody at the time, and he was very good. Mindframe, I would argue to you, Tom, that Mindframe in his 2 starts has shown that he's more adaptable and potentially classier than anything else we've seen in the field. Seize the Grey, we know, prefers going forward. Obviously, he was very good at Churchill on the undercard 2 starts ago. Sierra Leone, we know that he's absolutely one-dimensional in the way that he runs. With Mindframe, we know that he can go past horses. We know that he can sit in kickback. We know that he can sit forward as well. And we know that he's a very strong traveller. He's shown us a lot about himself in those 2 starts.
Yeah, and crucially, one thing you didn't mention there is that he's also proved on and off track. Because at Churchill last time, okay, the dirt track was listed as good, but it was very wet. It was just downgraded from sloppy, upgraded, sorry, from sloppy. So he's proven that he doesn't even need a fast track. And with the rain coming in this week, it's probably likely to be either a good main track or a sloppy main track by the time we get to the Belmont, depending on how much they harrow and how much it dries out on Saturday. There really isn't that many negatives about him. Plenty of people on social media are cold about his chance because if you go back through the history of the Belmont, not many horses have won this race on just their 3rd outing. That's fair. But Mindframe looks like a standout in the division if he can take that step forward from last time up. And he's done nothing wrong, as we've already said.
Yeah, I entirely agree. I think we're kind of letting our selection show a little bit in this, but we'll keep you in suspense for just one or 2 minutes more. Anything else in the race that you wanted to mention?
Well, I think we should just touch on a few others, just purely because it's such a wide open Belmont. One of the best that we've seen in recent years, I would suggest. Honor Marie, we've briefly mentioned a little bit there with the running style, but you've got to give him another chance purely because in the Kentucky Derby, he was just mullered out the gates and that was game over. Prior to that, he showed a fair level of form. Seize the Grey comes in as the Preakness winner. Mystik Dan comes in as the Kentucky Derby winner. Both of those have already proven themselves to be towards the top of the 3-year-old division this year, and again, cannot be written off. Maybe Mystik Dan gets a good trip up the inside once again and goes close. Antiquarian, Todd Pletcher's other runner, I think is improving at a good rate of knots. He'll take another step forward and could be one for the place money. So this is a very good renewal of the Belmont. I want to be with Mindframe, but I want a bit of a price. I think 4-1 is the minimum I would take. I think he may drift out a touch over the next few days before the race. And if he does, I'll get involved. If he doesn't, I'll probably sit this one out and watch as a very interested neutral.
I'm happy to go shorter than that than you with Mindframe. I think 9-4 and up, he's a play. I think there's a potential he's a very, very good horse. But look, both of us are with Mindframe in this spot. We're both taking the potential class option over the experience. There is a chance as well that Mindframe is about to just blow this 3-year-old division apart. Give me your 1, 2, 3 in the Belmont.
I'll go. Okay, the first 2 are going to be boring because I think Mindframe is going to get the best trip, and as I've already said, I like him. So I'll put Mindframe on top. Sierra Leone is the obvious forecast or exacta play, coming from behind, picking up tired rivals and finishing an unfortunate second. Third, it really depends on the pace. Mystik Dan could get a good trip, but I'm just not convinced about that. Seize the Grey could get a good trip up front, but again, could be pressed by Dornock. I'll go Resilience for third, a horse that we haven't really touched on, but he always has, well, he's shown tactical speed. He should get into a nice stalking role, and he should stay this trip pretty well. So he could be another one just to plug on late in the day, but I don't think he's a win player in this race.
I'm delighted you said Resilience because I thought we were going to agree on the 1, 2, 3 as well. I've got Mind Frame on top with Sierra Leone and Honor Marie back in third. I think Honor Marie could just pick up a never nearer, never really threatening third. But at the prices, I think Honor Marie could be an each way play where the win part is still live. It's not a race where you're giving away half your bet just to try and get in the places. But I'm hoping Honor Marie would be 12 to 1, 14 to 1 plus, and the bookmakers kind of forget about Florent Giroux's mount. But the selection, just finalise it for yourself, Tom. Who wins the Belmont?
Mind Frame for me. Hopefully, Arid Ortiz, Todd Pletcher, St. Elias Stable will have another big race winner. He should set a good trip and get first run on Sierra Leone.
Yeah, I'm 100% with Mind Frame as well. I think he could be very good in a division of 3-year-olds that, to be honest, we do need something to stand out and be a star because City of Troy in England is waiting to come over and have a go in the Travers. We will touch on that further down the line. Very, very exciting from our side of the pond at least. But that is a look at the Belmont. Obviously, Saratoga runs a bit deeper than that. There are plenty more grade ones. There'll be a lot more on social media. Just a few others that I liked over at Saratoga, including one English horse in the New York Stakes. I thought two were interesting to me. We'll start with the bigger priced one. Star Fortress, I thought, is a horse who could come from a fair way back. It's been a little unfortunate the last couple of outings. They didn't go too hard last time, still managed to run a massive, massive race. He's a horse that's never really clocked a massive speed figure over in the US, but the way that he runs kind of leans himself towards that. He needs races to stop up front. They'll go a gallop in this, and I think he could run very well at a price. I think the winner of the race, though, will be English Rose. Was unlucky last time around, / Frankie Dettori rode everybody else to sleep, including William Buick, which is a real rarity over in America. But English Rose, if he gets a better setup, should really appreciate that. I think she'll take out the New York Stakes, but do keep an eye on Star Fortress. And I love Just FYI. I think she's absolutely wonderful. Returning here to Saratoga, I think, is a rather big thing for her. A long straight to run at. I think she can run down Torpedo Anna this time, who connections did mull with the idea of running in the Belmont itself. But Torpedo Anna, the Kentucky Oaks winner, I think will have form overturned with Just FYI. And the third selection is Mind Frame in the Belmont. Just one more point regarding Saratoga. I think Saratoga form from years gone by, Tom, is very, very important with older horses returning to the track.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because trainers like to target these big prizes at Saratoga, increased prize money. Obviously, all eyes will be on this weekend. And course form is relatively strong there, especially when the rain comes and then it dries up because the kickback can get pretty rough. So, yeah, I'll definitely be looking out for previous Saratoga winners or horses who have gone well at the venue before.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a look at the Belmont Stakes and also a little bit of the rest of the action from Saratoga. But there will be so much more on our social media platforms over the next few days at Turf Touchdowns on Twitter, at Turf and Touchdowns everywhere else. We can't wait for the action at Saratoga to get underway. Do make sure you're subscribed to this channel if you did enjoy this preview. We post every single week. We'll be back next week with another horse racing preview and also an NFL video as well. Anything I've missed, Tom?
Don't think so. Perfect podcast this week. I had to mute myself there because the bin men were outside dropping glass everywhere. So that was a bit of carnage. But aside from that, brilliant on your end.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 for me, 8 out of 10 for Tom. Thank you, everyone, for watching this week. Best of luck, whichever way you are playing the Belmont. I wish you even more luck if you're with Mind Frame. We will see you in about a week's time. Until then, stay safe, look after one another. Goodbye.